This is Edwin Neill. Um, just to give you a little background on our company, we're a third-generation family-based business. Family-owned business. We're based in Louisiana. Right now, we're at about 150 employees, and our core business has always been distribution of hair care products. So over the years, we had been, we'd really worked hard on making sure we had up-to-date technology. We implemented an Oracle ERP system some years ago, and we've also continuously been developing software for salons and spas, and that's Salon Biz and Spa Biz that you'll see on your screen. Meanwhile, I think we kind of let our customer relationship management software languish. We have a field sales force between the two, in our distribution of about 50 people, and basically the way they were getting information was by having reports emailed to them. They were, back when I was calling on hair salons in the 80s, we used note cards, and really we were still using note cards to keep track of customer interaction, and there wasn't really any visibility between the field sales force and the customer service folks in the main office. The communications around customer needs and customer challenges were really more focused on, done through the phone. So Aveda Distribution is a major part of our company. We also offer salon and spa software, and that's something we do globally. The distribution is just in the south of the United States. We have our own salons and spas, 10 of them in Louisiana, and we also own and operate 17 Aveda Institutes across the South. So we've got a pretty, the slide someone was showing earlier about talks about the different ERP systems. So that's the kind of we're definitely fragmented a bit. And one of the things we wanted to do in our software company was implement Salesforce. So that was kind of the impetus for us to get more cloud-based. You want to move to the next slide? So I talked a little bit about the disconnection, lack of productivity due to manual need to access information, and really just not lack of visibility about information. One of the things also, if you look at our software Salon Biz, it provides actual business data for the salons and spas, but to get that information, our Salesforce would have to go in and print out the information from the salon system. There was no way that we could feed that information into our own systems at Neill. And I don't know, Louie, you want to add something on this slide? Louie Lago is also with me, our VP of Business Development.
Yeah, just a little bit we'll just talk about the distribution at this point. But the big thing around distribution is we had all these different silos of information that were across all these different databases, and we had essentially our ERP system was housing all of our order management side of it, and a lot of manual reports throughout different departments done on Excel spreadsheets, etc. The outside sales team really going through and updating all these spreadsheets, then translating them to the internal team, and so it was just this. There's all this cumbersome data that was all floating around, and really the accuracy of it we really had concerns around too. So what our goal was, one of the big innovation or big needs around it for the distribution side of it was how do we streamline all that data? And then that's when really Informatica came in, at Configuro, when we sat down and, reviewed what we're going to do for this project, is looking how do we optimize what partners are out there. And that's when we looked at Informatica, Salesforce, and then decided that was the best approach to really take all those silos of information and consolidate it essentially back into Salesforce and use Salesforce as our main delivery tool for reporting for all of our internal stuff and all of our outside sales reps to utilize Salesforce reporting, since it is so flexible on the types of reports and types of dashboards that we were looking at. I guess we can go on to the next slide. And really the big reason, in our company we have, Edwin just briefly kind of give you an overview of our companies. Where we started with Salesforce was in our technology company, our software company. And we had a homegrown legacy system that was essentially our CRM, and then we had an outside system, another system tied onto that was kind of our help desk side of it for when we had customers, during implementation, training questions, technical, all that stuff was housed in another system. So what we really had to do is look at, we looked at that. We knew that it was, not something that we were going to take on again. So we looked at other partners that were out there, other CRM companies. So we decided almost 3 years ago to go with another partner. We ended up going with another CRM software, and we had it in place for about 6 months and decided we made the wrong decision. And then that's when we engaged with Configuro and Salesforce and kind of went down a different path, because the CRM that we had prior, the legacy system was one thing, but then the other CRM really didn't have the bells and whistles that we needed. And the big thing, too, was that there was not a lot of integration partners with that company. With, Salesforce and going forward with that for the innovation side of it, we were able to really, the technology company, we went and partnered with DocuSign, Conga's another company, Quick Tools, and there's all these partners that were able to, immediately integrate with our software for our lead management side. So all of our sales teams now uses it. We also use Salesforce for all of our help desk, sales operations. So it's been a really big tool in that case, or for that entity. Go on to the next slide. So part of it was too is like the development side of it. When we engaged with Configuro, we looked at several other partners out there, Salesforce partners, and we looked at who is going to be able to provide us solutions and answers to our needs within the organization. And we looked at other partners, and they were said, yeah, they have a lot of expertise and recommendations on stuff, but really when it really hit home with me with Configuro, and I think Edwin can speak to this too, is that we really spent a lot of time initially on the front end. So we did what's called like a BPR, a business planning process with them. We spent several days on that and really mapped out really what the goal of the project was, what the phases of the projects were going to be, and really strive to make that happen. And then, as we go to the next slide, go to the next slide, please. Oops. Oh, thank you. You can just kind of see how we did it, and we did this across all the three different entities. We would take a project lead, that was myself or several other people, then combining that with the project lead from Configuro, and then defining those really requirements around the project for Salesforce. So like we said, we did our first one with the technology companies, and that was Neill Technologies. Our second one was Aveda Distribution, and our third one, just was recently, was our Aveda Institutes. And so from each of those,
but I think it's, Louie, if I could jump in, I think what was really key was to have the people that, if you look at the Aveda sales group, is really having the senior sales management involved from the beginning. And we actually had a change in one of those senior managers during the project, and we found out what happens when you don't have that initial buy-in and that initial, get their thoughts initially, because the scope started to move a little bit. So I think having a cross section of users and of management along with the technical folks was really key to the project's success.
Totally agree. But it was just leading that, getting those groups together and then getting everybody to agree upon what the scope of the project was going to be. And as you can see here, this slide just kind of covers our three different entities that are utilizing Salesforce. And what's unique about this slide in particular is that all three of these Salesforce, they're separate Salesforce organizations or separate Salesforce orgs, but our goal at the end of the day and during additional phases of this project is all of these Salesforce entities are going to talk to each other, all the way from when a student signs up at an institute, it follows them all the way through our software, Salon Biz, as a employee stylist, and then all the productivity from Salon Biz, actual sell-through information, then goes on to the actual the sell-through information goes on to the distribution side of it. So right now we're just integrated on the distribution side for actual orders from our ERP system directly into Salesforce, and then we'll backfeed that distribution channel with Salon Biz data from even student side of it to actual sell-through information. So really, when we looked at Salesforce, it gave us the platform to build an enterprise solution that integrates everything seamlessly. And Edwin, I don't know if you want to add anything onto that.
No, I mean, I think the key though for us is going to be, and this is the third phase of our integration between with Salesforce and the distribution company is going to be getting the data back in from SalonBiz into the system that the salespeople are able to see, on their iPads as they walk in the salon. So right now they one thing that's really great is when they go into the salon, they know exactly where that salon is to goal. Is it has it bought in whatever the new product promotions are? But when we've been able to see, okay, which stylists are actually having the indicators that we want from a retail perspective, which ones are recommending Aveda products, which ones have a nice high product per ticket, and which ones have a lower product per ticket. When we have that information at our fingertips, then we know who in the salon to approach to impact them and really increase our sales to the salon by increasing the salon's retail sales.
Great. So the next slide you kind of see here is just some of our order integration process. And so what we have here inside Salesforce is every single line item of detail from our ERP system is directly input into Salesforce. So we have, thousands of SKUs, and every one of those SKUs obviously is attached to an order. So we have really visibility to look at what we call domains for our different product categories. We have visibility to see into those domains and then filter out that information by territory, by sales rep, by territory, by each of the executive teams, and then separate groups upon that. So it really gave us that ability to create all the reporting that we needed out of the ERP system and then back into Salesforce. And then some of the stuff that we've done too is just created different dashboards, and I think Edwin will speak to that in a little bit here. But it was just really that everything that we're doing now was real-time data, and it wasn't something that was from the prior day, looking at it. And a lot of the stuff we didn't really even touch on too is our case management side of it for distribution. If there was ever a damaged product, missing item, etc., that's all then translated in Salesforce directly out to the field. So when they're in front of their salon owners, they can review that, go make sure everything was taken care of, etc.
And Louie, that's really important. We just did our quality survey where we survey our entire customer base, and we did very, very well. They did a net promoter score, and we were like an 85, which is a great score. But one of the things we were criticized about was lack of follow-up on what we call customer challenges in the Salesforce parlance as cases. So this idea of being able to review the challenges directly with the owner, the person who's filling out the form, we feel like it's going to really increase that level of satisfaction that our customers will have with our service.
Great. All right, yeah, we can go ahead and go to the next slide here. All right. One of the things that we did with our sales staff, there's about 60 sales reps that we have across the South, and we deployed iPads. So we've potentially deployed iPads to all of the sales reps and Android phones, and they could use those for the tethering for their hotspots, etc. But what they've done with the iPads is, Configure has helped us to optimize some of the screen stuff for that, was to essentially have what we called their doctor files. And originally that doctor file contained all their historical sales information, product sales, product launches, information about the salon, contacts, what their plans were with that salon, etc. If there was new promotional items that were coming out, kind of review that with them, and then they would be able to take notes on that. And that was a file that was probably about 60, 70 pages per salon or per location. What we've been able to do is to consolidate that all into Salesforce and then have it all be viewable, when they're in the salon and visiting their accounts. Yeah,
so it gets rid of the paper shuffle and also makes sure that they have the tools they need. Also in those doctor files are the different business tools. So say, for example, that a field sales rep goes in and they see that the salon needs staff. There's certain written tools that they would then use with the owner to figure out, what's the plan to get more people in. So that they have it in their fingertips. The second thing I love about doing this is that is about the iPad is that it's very easy to maintain. So we've gotten rid of the laptops that were really causing our IS department a big headache. And then one thing the previous slide said, it talked about making the month. So instead of having the salespeople call and keep asking where am I on my month, have I reached my goal yet? that information's right there live in real time for them, and that's one of the things that they've been very excited about since we began implementation in July. They've just the sheer access to the information. Next slide. So top-down visibility, we've pretty much really addressed this already. It's real-time information available right there on the iPad, and easy for them to get to, and very highly visual and graphic. Louie, you want to add anything on that? Okay, and then obviously, any of us who've used Chatter know how much more pleasant it is than the plethora of email, and our field sales force loves to keep in touch with each other, and they adopted to Chatter like ducks to water. So it's really nice to see them communicating. And again, now there's an ability to share directly communications that are happening with the customer, either internally with our internal customer service team or with the external field sales force. One of the things we talked about was just this real-time access to data, and that, if you look at that piece alone, it creates a dramatic improvement in sales productivity. We estimate it's probably an hour a day of less paperwork and less time on the phone, less running reports, printing out reports, et cetera, just because of this implementation. So that one piece alone totally makes it worthwhile to us. Another piece is with the being successful with a field sales force, so much depends upon making sure activities out in the field are focused towards really driving results. Because it's very easy for the salesperson to get into a habit of dropping in, saying hello to the salon owner, shooting the breeze for a few minutes, and really not getting to the intended outcome of that meeting and not doing the appropriate planning up front. So that the piece of having the game plan where we know exactly what the intended outcomes are for that visit, it helps the individual themselves, and it really helps the management be able, when they have their coaching calls, to follow up, to ask about how that interaction went, and to really look and see what the results were. So as far as next steps, marketing automation, definitely a big one. Integrating with SalonBiz, I mentioned that earlier, where we'll be able to actually populate the key indicators for the individual salon into Salesforce, and then when the salesperson walks in the door, they know exactly what the key areas they need to focus on are. One of the things we always look at, I mentioned retail per ticket, but another is the number of transactions the salon is doing. So if that's dropping, we need to know right at the beginning of that conversation, because if the salon's not seeing the customers they need to see, then they're not going to be successful and not going to be buying from us. So that just having that trigger to let us go in and start coaching on that makes a big difference. We're implementing Cvent, so we used to spend a lot of time internally and externally getting our salons and our stylists booked into education events. So that's all now become automated and connected through into Salesforce. And then the last thing is our Force.com student community site. You want to address that one, Louie?
One of the things we're doing with Configure, I was partnering with them on a development for our student community site, more of a site so we can build within the student management software within Salesforce. We're going to build really a reporting tool for their hours, their credited hours, I'm going a little brain dead here. Their hours that they've been for their accreditations, they have to have so many hours, financial aid portions of it, et cetera. So we're currently using other software that's out there, but it's not integrated into Salesforce. So we've decided to actually take that model and recreate that software in Force.com.